Hello and hello, friends. How are you? It's July 31st, as you can see, and it's Sunday. And I haven't done one of these segments in a while. I call it Builder Insights. So we get a chance to speak with a mock builder and talk a little bit more about their process. And the way this kind of came about is you probably remember on a What, When, Why Wednesday episode, we talked about the Master Builder series that was being done by Alyssa. And when we were talking about that, a lot of her viewers had tuned in, and one of her viewers, is going to be our guest, reached out to me and said, "Hey, I've got this process that I do using hand drawings, and then and he does them digitally, and he also does them by hand, but he does drawings first and then converts them over into digital format." And I thought, that is super cool. And I would love to know more about what he does. And so he and I have been talking for a while. It's been a couple months because we aired that episode, I want to say in early May or so. And hello, Glenn, and hello, Vicarious Brickstress. Good to see you. Yeah, so we've been talking for a couple months now, and it's at the end of July, and we got this date secured, and I'm really happy to introduce my next guest. And just a little bit about my next guest, as I was talking about different kinds of electronic media that he's been using. So he's currently working on mastering his skills as a digital Lego builder, and he's the winner of challenge number 5 of the Brickmaster 2022 challenge on Instagram. That's the one that I mentioned about Alyssa. And so he continues to build his life brick by brick and hopes to one day be a master builder. And I'm delighted to invite to the stream. Please help me welcome Jacob Dennis.
Hey
Hey,
guys.
Jacob. Hey, how's it going? Also known as studded.brick on Instagram.
Yes.
So if you are interested, I'll go ahead and put that up real quick because I know that you and I have been talking for a little bit. And so
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah.
studded.brick, it's been a couple months, and I'm really glad that we finally got a chance to have this
Me too.
together.
Yes, I was happy.
And as I think too, that I didn't realize until recently that, Alyssa had this series of 5 different challenges and that you won challenge number 5.
I did.
So,
Yes, I was one of the one. There was a couple other winners, but yeah, I was happily one of the winners. And she said that it was like unanimous that it was like one of the first winners. So it was exciting and it was exhilarating. And I
yeah,
was still in class during that time. I'm in college, and I was like
right.
not focused on anything because I was like, oh my goodness, I won. I tried
Yeah.
different challenges and it's taken a while to like build up to different things, but I won. It was just like, oh, that's crazy.
Well, and Alyssa is so generous too with
He was
her different
amazing.
challenges, and she gives away a lot of prizes. And I forgot to mention Jacob, following in the tradition of Alyssa at the end of this stream. So stay tuned because anybody who's watching right now, I should clarify this. We have a set that Jacob is going to be giving away, set number 11016. And whoever wins that, if they're in the US, we'll ship it to them. But if they're not in the US, we'll do something comparable, but probably not shipping.
Right.
So
Yes.
just so you know. But yeah, so stay tuned. And aloha also, Debo. Good to have you here. And yeah, so as we were talking a little bit more, I was asking Jacob, so how did you find out about Alyssa's challenge? Have you been following Alyssa for a while, or did you just hear about,
It was
Brickmaster 2022?
it was through some people who were doing the challenge I was following, and I was seeing all these different like little builds, or like they were building up to it. I was like, what is this? And I was like, this is really cool. And I was like, I have to do it. And so it started with the building the AT-AT or the BB-8 droid. I was like, that is so cool. I went and followed her, and I was like, I went and watched all of her different things, and I was like, she's really awesome. And I was like, I would love to.
She is.
So, yeah, she really helped me too during it. She built up my not like stamina. She would like just encouraged me as I was like, it was like a big race, and she was always encouraging and helpful through the process.
I think Alyssa has been one of those people in the Lego community who really tries her best to try to encourage everybody in the community to contribute. And
yes,
And Remy and I have been running this What, When, Why Wednesdays episodes. And our very first kickoff was with her to talk about
Yes.
BrickFest for 2022. And that's how you found us.
That is how I found out. I was like, well, they're going to be talking about the challenge, so I'm going to watch. And they talked about my build. And I was excited to hear it. And it was just fun to see Alyssa and her talking about it all. It was good.
Yeah. So I'm really excited that you said, oh, hey, can I be on your show? And you know this already, I'm not a big channel.
Right.
I've got like 300 followers, but I enjoy the educational aspect of YouTube. And that's part of the reason why I was just thrilled when you said, yeah, I'd love to share what I have. And so one of the things that to start this off, your process is a little bit different from other people who traditionally use electronic media, because the people that I've spoken to, many of them, they use Studio, and then they're using the 3D elements, and then they start in the 3D format. But you're a little different because you start usually with drawings, hand drawings and sketches, and usually in a 2D format. So can you explain a little bit more about your process? And aloha, Brick Jedi, how are you?
So usually I start really just using my art skills through, I go to college and I'm an art major. So I'm starting with those skills that I know of. I can draw anything on the paper, and it's like I don't have to use the brick pieces, and I can just draw whatever I want, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And so I try to, it's kind of like brainstorming. I start with brainstorming all my ideas, and I put them on paper. And from there, I can build it through, I can build it up from my sketches. So it's like starting with your dream and just going from there.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Now, as a builder, as far as your Lego background, because we notice you have Harry Potter in the background, you have the Ninjago, it looks like the City Gardens, you have Batman. Really excited to see Batman there. So what kind of genres do you gravitate to as a builder in general?
I usually, when I was a kid, I always loved the Ninjago, and I loved the Star Wars. And those are the two. And as I have been getting older, I got into the Harry Potter, and I loved all those different things. And whenever they have Lego sets, I'm like, I feel connected to it. Like I need to get it. Like, so I could like, I don't know. It's just, they're fun to have. And I really love the adult building ones where they're harder. And I just like to take my time and just like build it really slowly so I can just enjoy it. I just like building and collecting, and it's really fun for me.
Yeah. And you mentioned the 18 plus sets, and they did a massive rebranding only a couple of years ago where they started putting the box as this nice black box, and they have really nice instructions inside. I have the orchid like behind me here, and
I got the bonsai tree, and I love that.
Yeah,
that was so fun.
Yeah, I have the bonsai over my fireplace, and I think what they've done is they've tapped into not only artistic value, because you see with the Stormy Night set, I'm trying to remember if
the
it's
Starry Night,
the Starry Night set, and making these collaborations because they had to get permission from the Museum of, I think, Pop Culture or one of those, to be able to start distributing that. And then you have the botanical series, and you have also the haunted house was one of the
really
first.
Like that set. That's really cool. I love the elevator.
Really awesome. I just dismantled mine.
Really?
I did. I needed the bricks.
Right.
Because
yes.
I'm a mock builder. I'm a bit of a collector, but I'm also more of a mock builder. And yes, Debo said the MoMA. Yeah, the MoMA, there's a special agreement with the MoMA for Lego to be able to produce that. And ahoy, hoy, hooded one. Good to have you here.
I feel like there's a point whenever you're collecting that you've collected so much that you might as well just get the sets for the pieces.
Well, that's kind of where I'm at. And I get to a point where I bought the haunted house, and this was a couple of years ago, because I think the haunted house was one of the first that got the new branding with the black box. Yeah. Yeah. So if you go into a Lego store now, anything that has a black box is specifically targeted towards 18 plus. They had a complete rebrand, refresh. It used to be called the Creator Series.
And I do remember that when they did all the boxes and things like that.
And then they started doing and they've done black boxes before with the Architecture Series, especially some of the smaller sets.
Right, I do remember that.
Yeah, but so I think what they were doing is they're saying, okay, so the Architecture sets already are kind of geared towards that market, and even the books that they include in the small architecture sets and the large ones, they started doing that with these larger sets specifically targeted to 18 plus,
Yes.
and some of them are massive. I haven't actually seen one yet, but the Titanic.
I've seen that, and that is I saw it in a Lego store, and I was like,
Yeah,
that thing is
in
like
the
a
Lego
table.
store. But I can't even imagine. I just took down the haunted house, and I can't even imagine where would I put the
It's
Titanic
huge.
or the Millennium Falcon
That has been a
or
dream set since I was like when it first came out that first day, I was like, that is amazing.
well,
But
that and it's
the
interesting. I think that set, I'm not sure if they actually changed the box on that set because
Millennium
that one has been around prior to the rebranding, and I don't think they've redone the box. I think the original Millennium Falcon box is still the same.
okay,
Somebody check on that for me, Glenn, or somebody in the chat if you would.
but
But
they're huge. And I like they would take a
it's
long time to build.
you need, first of all, you need a place to build it. Then once
Yes,
it's built, you need a place to store it. And
I would
I've
have to
seen
make
so many,
my own shelf
yeah,
for
and I've seen
it.
so many people who have purchased custom built coffee tables
I've
just
seen that.
for the Millennium Falcon.
I've seen that.
Yeah. But anyway, so it sounds like you like Harry Potter, you like Ninjago, you like Star Wars. So, and pretty much you gravitate to the 18 plus series. And I'm curious too that when we go through your process, since you mentioned Harry Potter, I know one of the drawings you shared with me before the stream was this castle. So I was wondering if you could pull up the castle
I would
in
love
your
to. Yes.
on your desktop, and then once you do that, I'll share that on the screen because I think it's just kind of goes to your process that as an artist you have this vision in your head, and then you take that vision and then you translate it into an electronic form, whether it's two-dimensional, and then from 2D move it into 3D. And
Yeah.
Brickaroo Banzai, yes, that's definitely, there's a lot of dollars there.
Okay. I'm fixing
Yeah.
to share my screen.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
No, I can see it in the background right
oh,
now. You're sharing in the background. You're sharing that. Okay. All right. We're ready now.
so I first drew. You may do the drawing first.
Yes. Here's the
Okay, so I
drawing.
first drew here, and I was like a castle, and I put myself right there, just like staring at it, like what would a castle be like? And I couldn't exactly like go to a castle, so I was like, I can just draw one.
So is
And
that figure in the lower right? Is that you?
yes, that is me right there.
Okay.
This is me. Yes, and I wanted it to be. I didn't want to sit here and do some huge drawing and like it needs to be perfect. I just wanted to take 10 to 15 minutes of my time and just
Mm-hmm.
map out something of like something fun, something whimsical. I like whimsical. And then I was able to take that and just go to
Now,
um
is this in Photoshop that you're using?
this is actually it's called Krita. It's a different program for that I just use. It's easier for me. I don't
Okay.
know. But let's go over here. And then I was able to take that, and I've always drawn dragons as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to have a dragon bursting out of the castle.
Yes.
So I put that here.
I
And
love it.
one thing I love doing is just like using different pieces that like people wouldn't like technically use as an actual piece and like put them
Mm-hmm.
into my design. So
Wow.
like I just use like these like little horns and like the teeth, but like the tongue, I wanted it to like come out like he's like just launching out.
Well,
And
and that goes back to, there's two different ways at least your brain works, right? When
right.
you're using 3D versus 2D. And your original design, you didn't have the dragon in there to
I
begin
never
with.
had the dragon, and
Yeah.
I have a picture. I kind of just drew it out on paper, but I had a picture of the dragon. And I was like, let's do something. I kind of want it to be scary, but I didn't want it to be
Mm-hmm.
like, I didn't want it to ruin the whole entire castle picture.
Right.
And
So
then,
Brick Jedi just wants to give you feedback. It looks rad.
yes. So with the castle here, with the different angles, like
Mm-hmm.
this one, the smaller one that's flipping, I had to have like a whole entire like I guess those technical like pieces that you put underneath like the cars or
Mm-hmm.
the beams that are like sticking through it. And then for here, I had to use a bunch of hinges to make it like that, looking
To
like
have
it's
it
breaking.
flip up. Now you're not using Studio. You're using, you said Credo?
Oh,
What's
I'm
the name?
using Studio, but this right here, this Krita was me drawing. So whenever I go and make the Legos, I do it in studio.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
so the first drawing you showed us
Yes.
was in Credo.
Yes, that was in Krita, Krita.
Okay, I'm going to put that in the chat for everybody. So
Yeah,
Krita. Okay, so you start with Krita.
I
Just to
draw.
kind of brainstorm what's on your mind. And hello, Lena, good to have you here. And then you go into studio,
And then
you start building it in studio. So and then you import it back into Krita.
Well, I just dropped the picture into Krita. It was the fastest way for me to.
Oh, I see.
So,
Okay.
I mean, I could have gone into studio to pull it up actually, but
Right.
I have pictures, so I can go
Mm-hmm.
and show other pictures. But
We could keep talking about this, but I just want
fine,
everybody to know that you first start with Krita, just to kind of get your artistic mind going.
Yeah.
And then you start opening up studio, and then in studio you do the visual representation in 3D, and that also gives you a list of parts and be able to color things the way that you want them, right?
And that was one thing. Here, I'm going to come back onto the other. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Whoa.
Okay. But that was one thing that I worked with, was understanding where the parts were on on studio. And so I actually started by just taking like an actual Lego set and just trying to build it on studio. And then I was able to understand how it worked. I didn't have to like just use my imagination. I was able to just follow the instructions for a minute and kind of get a hang of it.
Oh, yeah, that's a great way to start to learn studio.
Yeah.
I got some help from a friend of mine, Thron's Revenge 66. He actually has a couple of tutorials, and I follow him on Twitch.
Yeah.
And I've met him in person too. So he's been really helpful with putting together, when do you use the space bar? How do you move things in three-dimensional space? But I think when you and I started talking about your process, that some people feel, especially if they're artists already that are doing pencil drawings, or if they're doing, watercolor or whatever their medium is, that they don't feel like they could make the leap to 3D. There's this big fear factor of going between 2D and 3D. So I was really excited when you said, this is your process, is that you really literally start drawing. And some people, if they wanted to, like, it sounds like in Krita, you already did your 2D drawing within Krita. But
I did, yes.
But you could theoretically just do a pencil and paper sketch and then scan it.
Yes. I do this a lot. Like I even just do it like with pen, or like if I messed up, it's okay. Like, just get a new piece of paper. But like, even like, it doesn't take that long. Sometimes like 5 minutes. Just to all those outlines, and I could take those, because like that's not my finished product. Like the finished product is on the studio, right? And so it's fun to do, and I always try to like push my limits and see, like, kind of like on that bonsai tree, how they use those frogs for the leaves. I try to like push my limits and say, like, what kind of piece can I use that looks like this but really isn't that.
And the frogs are kind of a funny example, because they use the frogs in other pieces too. Like we were just talking about the haunted house.
Yeah.
And they use gray frogs in that for gargoyles.
Oh, really?
Around the perimeter of the haunted house. Yeah. So
that's pretty cool.
It's interesting that it's almost like the frog, and also there's a couple pieces that are kind of like Easter eggs.
They are. And I heard
cookies. Have you seen the cookies in different sets?
Yeah. Yes. I heard that one of the frogs, like on the city gardens, like was one of the designer's like signature piece that he hid in it.
Yeah.
Which is so cool. I was like, that is amazing.
Yeah, we've been doing Lego Masters New Zealand reviews, and one of the builders, Georgie Palmer, she's been hiding chameleons in all of her builds. And there was one build which was a monochrome build, and they didn't have that chameleon color, so they had to hide it on the inside of the build.
Does she have a chameleon?
No, she doesn't. She just saw them in the brick pit and said, these are cool. I'm just going to put them in all my builds. So every build, she put a chameleon in there, which is really fun. So I wanted to ask you, all right, so we saw one of your castle drawings, and I think you also have a Pocahontas drawing that you use also for your thumbnail in Instagram.
Oh, I did not have the drawing. I have the actual build. It's bigger. It's bigger.
Yeah, let's take a look at your Pocahontas build, because I think Even though we're not showing people the sketch of that you did, I think it's interesting because it has this really cool little personality with the facial expressions, and then you did some floral design
I
behind
did.
her.
I did. I could talk about that. I would love to. It was one of my
Yeah,
favorite ones to do.
yeah, exactly.
Let's
And it
go.
seems like a chameleon can fit anywhere.
I feel like
It's true, Glenn.
so. This build was for the touch of color for
Mhm.
the challenges, and so
Right.
we had to have the character touching something, and everybody was using these the Lego minifigures, and I
Mhm.
wanted to do Pocahontas Colors of the Wind because it made sense, but they don't have a Pocahontas like minifigure, and so it's
Can
like,
you zoom in a little bit? Can
yeah,
you
I
make that a
definitely
little
can.
bit larger? Yeah.
Let's see, what do over here. Well, let's
There
see,
we go. Yeah.
and I'll
Yeah.
move it down. Let's see if I can move it.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about this is like you said, they didn't have a Pocahontas minifig, so you did a brick built
I
Pocahontas
did do a
for
brick build,
that.
and
Yeah.
because I really, really wanted to do Colors of the Wind, and I was like, it's so amazing, and so I did
Mhm.
it, and I wanted to put the other characters, and so over here, ooh, I put the hummingbird up here
Mhm.
that is in the movie,
Oh, yeah.
and I put the raccoon
Yeah,
right
the
here.
raccoon. I love that little raccoon.
Yes, and I put them on the base. It wasn't gonna make sense, but it just made sense to me. Let's see,
Mhm.
but they're sitting on the base of a sunflower, like from the show. How I know that
Mhm.
she goes to like sunflowers, but like it was just, and then I was but I had to make it black and white, so I was like, let's just do it, and it'll be okay as long as I know that it's the sunflower.
Well, I was going to mention that I like this enough that you could also do this as a full color version
I
and
could,
then
yes,
put this onto ideas. And then from that, you could also build out instructions if you wanted to. Or
I
you don't
could,
have to do ideas, but you could build out instructions that if somebody, like if I wanted to build that raccoon, then I could build that little raccoon because it's so
yes. That
adorable.
raccoon was so fun to build. It took me a while, and I wanted it to be realistic, but then I was like, let's make it kind of animated like the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I just sat them on the little plate, and it was so fun. But and then the flowers, they took a long time because I had to do them every single one individually.
Mhm.
This is before I
Oh.
knew how to copy and paste on the thing, and so I just made them all. I also during the challenge,
Mhm.
because I was doing brick build, I wanted it to feel like I was like with everybody else, making it brick by brick.
Mhm.
And so I kind of forced myself to like not take all the shortcuts that you can sometimes do
Right.
on Studio. And so
That because you would as a builder, you'd have to put it on piece by piece,
you would
and,
have to do it piece by piece.
right. Now, minifigure collector asks, I thought they have mini doll pandas, but I don't think they have mini doll pandas are from, like, the Friends series. They have a mini doll panda, like, a companion.
Oh,
Those
really?
little companion ones, but what you've got here is a brick-built panda, more on the size I'm sorry, raccoon, a brick-built raccoon more on the lines of, almost like a brick head, but it's more
It
animated
was,
and
yes.
more
I
curved.
wanted it to be like a brick head, so I started with the base of a usual brick head
Yeah,
and then built around it.
right. Yes, and, Vicarious Brickstress also says, "Flit and Miko too, wow!" Yeah,
Yes,
it's so sweet. I absolutely love this, and since you did this for the challenge, that's why it's in black and white and
that is.
color, but you could easily, within the studio program,
I
colorize
could.
the whole thing, and then that could be something that if you wanted to, you could have instructions that you could create for this.
Yes.
Now, I think this is just a really great example of using you were inspired by a challenge and then using your artistic background and putting it into an electronic form. And now you can share that with people also as a render, which is
Yes, I
really
can,
cool.
yeah.
Hmm.
Now, that was something really fun that Studio does so easily as they render it
Yes.
for you right there, and it's like, I don't have to go I did used to have to, like, go through and, like, kinda alter it myself and, like, take it
Hmm.
through, like, Blender or something like that and, like, rendering it there, which is really hard. You have to have, like, special, like, knowledge that I didn't really have at the time,
Hmm.
but it's so helpful and so easy just that it does it right then and there.
Right. So what are your plans for your next
So bad.
set of builds? What are you thinking about next?
Um, I was inspired about with the Disney. I really wanted to do Mulan and like have her kind of like on a horse, just kind of like on her horse, kind of there. And but it's just an idea. I've been working on like just like kind of processing what it would take
Hmm.
just to make the horse first. That's what I did with Pocahontas. I just made like that main like the hardest piece, which was Pocahontas first, and then I
Right.
around her. So
Yeah.
it would be making kind of like a diorama, kind of, but kind of like the Pocahontas.
Hmm. Well, it's interesting when you talk about you have to start with the base, whatever that is. Like in the
Mhm.
first example, we talked about the castle. And then from the castle, the dragon came in later. And then the render of the dragon bursting through the bricks and putting that together.
That's
And
right.
then with Pocahontas, your base was really starting with Pocahontas as a figure and then building around her.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that when you start thinking about this process, and this is why I call this builder insights, it's like we're trying to get into the brain of these builders. Like,
Yes,
what is it that you do to get to that point? Now, have you thought about going to conventions, or do you go to conventions? And
I have thought about it. I've never been to one, but
uh-huh.
I really would like to. I would really like want to work on something and go to one. It seems like a lot of fun. I watch them on Instagram with people
Hmm.
going with like some friends or things, and it seems like really inspiring.
It is a lot of fun. I don't know if you are in what city are you based in?
I'm in Mississippi. I'm at the state Mississippi, so it'd be a lot of traveling. But
Well, there is one in Alabama.
is it really? I did not
Hmm.
know that. I could
Yeah,
really make it there.
you really should try to go to the one. I think it's Brick. I want to say Brick Fair, maybe. There's a builder in Alabama. He goes by Martin from Alabama. He's a British guy who lives in Alabama. He's really well known for Disney builds too,
Really,
and he will definitely be there. So I would say that especially if you love Disney and you're thinking about doing this Mulan thing, I think one thing nice about conventions, and this is why I'm talking about this now, is that I'm getting ready for BrickCon,
yeah, I've heard about that. That is
and
like really cool.
I just interviewed, along with Brick Literacy, we just interviewed Robin Sather, who was the judge.
Really,
And he did some of these massive designs that are like 5 or 6 feet tall. And we were asking him, what did you do for those dice? Like there's two dice standing, on top of each other, and then they're like 6 feet tall.
yeah.
And you know what the secret is?
What was it?
Duplo.
Really?
Duplo.
Duplo?
Yes,
That is
Duplo.
crazy. Like,
Duplo.
that's
He
like going
made
down.
these in Duplo. And then the other thing he made in Duplo was this serpent, which is another like 5 or 6 feet tall, which was absolutely amazing. And I've been going onto his Brickville site, and he's got a lot of these massive builds. And now that I know he uses Duplo, I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, I think I could do that. So I think I shouldn't say this too loud, but I guess I'm going to go ahead and declare it that I'm right now considering making a Duplo structure for Brick.
really. That sounds really
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. And it's funny because if it's ends up being 4 or 5 feet tall, and then you put that onto a table, this
Yeah.
thing is going to be massive.
It is gonna be massive. I feel like transporting it would be really scary. I like those baking shows where they try to like transport the cake and all
Yeah, but
scares me.
Duplo is so strong, and
It is
that's what he was saying on the show. He was saying, yeah, he pitched the idea to the studio in New Zealand. He goes, "Yeah, I'd like to build some sets, and we're going to have to use Duplo because then you use fewer pieces, they're larger, and they're sturdier too."
yes.
Yeah. So anyway, there's a lot of chat about Pocahontas. So let's catch up with the chat here.
Okay.
So minifigure collector wanted to correct himself. It wasn't a mini doll panda. He meant a mini doll Pocahontas.
Okay.
Okay. And then Vicarious Bricks says, I've been waiting forever for a Pocahontas mini doll. Wonder why she's not been made. Well, apparently, I think there is one, according to minifig collector. And so glad Jacob said where he's from. You couldn't pin it down, his lovely Southern accent. So yeah, and we had talked about that. I forgot to mention that in the intro. So, and then we're talking about Duplo now. So great filler and occasional decoration. And that's the thing, is that I've used Duplo for structure. where you build up like for a ship. For a ship
Yes,
hull, I've put Duplo in for the structure so you don't have to use as many bricks. He used exclusively Duplo for some of these things.
that's really crazy.
And then, yeah, one problem, Duplo is more expensive. That's true.
There's more
But
plastic involved.
and then, oh, see, Martin from Alabama is now known as Artist Brick Snaps. Yes, that's it, Brick Snaps. Thank you.
I'm gonna have to write that down.
Yeah, so you need to follow Brick Snaps if you haven't already, because he does amazing Disney builds, and he will definitely be at the show in Alabama whenever that one is. And hello, Matthew Builds Bricks. Good to have you here. Okay, so now people need clarification. What, when, where, Pocahontas? I think what she's saying is our Wednesday show is usually what, where, why, and whatever topic, right?
Right.
So it sounds like Pocahontas is going to have to be a future one. So,
We can do it. Pocahontas. Pocahontas is a great. I love that film.
all right. And the last comment, I just want to clarify. Sue Ann made the Lego castle out of Duplo, didn't she? Or am I missing a remember thing? No, there have been Duplo castles I've seen at shows. There have been Duplo. I saw a Duplo cabinet for the wardrobe for was it the Narnia series or
The Narnia, that's really cool.
and I saw that made out of Duplo, but I haven't seen like sculptures like the ones that Robin has been doing.
I went to a Lego store in Colorado, and they had a Duplo frog, and it was like huge. Like I was able to fit inside his mouth, and it was humongous.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that if you are going to do Duplo, and there are some cool Duplo dragons too, and there is a whole series of people. They're called aphods, adult fans of Duplo. Yes, yes, there's a whole aphod community out there. So I think we're going to have a future episode of aphods, builder insights with regard to adult fans of Duplo.
That would be really cool.
I got so inspired after talking with Robin about that. So going back to some of your drawings. Okay, we've seen the castle, we've seen Pocahontas. I think you have a few more.
Coral Reef.
The coral reef, yes.
The finale
the coral
that we
reef
did
is beautiful.
I will pull it up.
Yes, definitely. And okay, so apparently there is no Pocahontas mini doll. There's only a digital design in a Lego animation. So I think what we're going to have to do is, if you put your Pocahontas in there in Lego ideas, maybe they will.
Maybe they will.
You have nothing to lose, right? To put something in ideas.
That's right, and it's anonymous.
Yeah,
for the most part, and it's really. I've thought about doing that. Just making something for Lego ideas, just for not even if I want.
We now have a FOP, adult fan of Pocahontas. You heard it here on the Brickanista Broadcast Network. Vicarious Brickstress has called it. We got a bunch of AFOPs here.
That's good.
Okay. All right. We have this now. So let's take a look.
This is the coral reef.
It's amazing. I absolutely love this.
It was
and
really
you
fun
could zoom
to make.
in a little too, if you don't mind.
Yes, I will definitely love to.
Yeah.
And I have another picture too. This will not be blurry. Hopefully it won't be.
No, it looks great.
Okay, good. I took inspiration from the what is that set called? The Lego. Don't they have like a Lego fish set?
Yeah, the aquarium set.
I took some of those fish and made them and just kept on making them just as a starter, just to fill up with fish. And then I made these little like yellow and black ones. Let's see if I can move over here. I moved a little bit too over. I made like all these different fish because I wanted the coral reef to be like you were swimming underneath the water at the sunken pirate ship. I added a little octopus here. These clownfish.
So much detail here. And I love this.
Yes, and one thing I did before I made any of this is I researched about different types of coral because I wanted them to. I didn't want to just start like putting out random things. I wanted to make things that were noticeable. Let's see if I can move around.
Well, I think too. I just love that you have this amazing composition of color. So you have the brown for the ship, which kind of gives a backdrop. And then you have a splattering of different colors, but in groups. So the clownfish, for example, all kind of like in a group together.
Yes, as are like the little school of fish.
Yeah. And then and then having the coral reefs kind of on the bottom with the brick wall, or not the brick, the slopes that you have for the wall on the bottom.
Yes. That
Yeah.
was what we had to use, all these different types of techniques for
Mhm.
the challenge. So we had to do like greebling, we had to do like this rock sculpture, all these different things. And so and the jellyfish are with tires. If you can see.
Oh, let's zoom in on that.
Yes, let's see if I can get it over there. Let's zoom in here.
Yeah.
Move it over. Oops. They're with tires right here. Let's get to one bigger one. Right there. It's with the tires, and underneath it, I used there was this little axle piece that had these clips, and I was able to clip
Wow.
those pieces onto it.
And our friend Debo loves the lavender, I'm sure. We
I
have a group that love lavender in this.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah. But yeah, the jellyfish, also the brick built sails that you put on the ship.
I did do
too.
the brick built sails, and those
Yeah.
were fun. Yes, I wanted. Yeah, I didn't. There is no paper like on like there's like felt material that like Lego has. There is none of that on Studio, as far as I'm aware. That I
Yeah.
could be very wrong, but I liked it better anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And after I did this, I put a background to it over here
Yes.
and kind of edited it.
I think the background really sets it apart as well. And the blue and the brown, that's always a
Yeah.
great combination too. It really makes it pop. And Glenn says it's actually not a ship, it's a wreck.
It is correct. That is correct. It is a
I can't
shipwreck.
imagine using a ship like that as an or intentional artificial reef.
So that's what I started with, was the shipwreck. And
Mhm.
we say there's like this this thing where we say going from general to specific.
Yeah.
And so that was an accident. Okay, so I just started with the ship, and I was able to build all this coral around it.
Mhm.
I was able to do like this sand parts right here underneath it, and then I was able to add the fish. So like I tried my hardest. Like the fish and the coral was the most fun part.
Mhm.
And it was super fun to just place them down. But I tried my hardest just to get like the basic out first, so that I could have the fun and just really bring it to life with all the coral and the fish and the submarine over here.
Just the layers that you have in there are
It
so
was a lot of layers.
nice. And Lena Inverse says that build looks cool. And so you've built this digitally. Have you also built it in real life as well?
I have not. It was over 20,000 pieces.
Oh my God.
So I have not purchased all those pieces yet.
You do. So you said yet. So does that mean you plan to in the future?
I would love to. It would be amazing.
And then you'd have to buy a backdrop of some sort.
I would, and I can take that to Lego Show.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they do have tape, Lego tape of water. So
Really?
you theoretically could put that behind if you wanted to be all 100% Lego. You could theoretically do it.
Yeah.
So Vicarious Bricks just has a question about Brickmaster 2022 had virtual builds, and I believe that you could do it virtually for a lot of the challenges, right? For all 5 challenges. Mm-hmm.
You could do them. And then the finale, it mattered where you could either choose do it digitally or do it in real life, I guess.
And Glenn has a question about some of the bits that you have there. Are those all actual Lego pieces in those colors? Because he thinks some of the light nougat portions may not.
Some of them were not, and that was one of the things where I was trying to decide, should I make it real or should I make it not? And there was I think 2 colors where they were not actually be able to be found. But I was like, this is the finale, and
it's an art. It's a piece of art.
Bend the rules just a little bit, maybe.
Well, and to be honest, there have been artists who actually paint their Lego.
Really?
There's an artist who won Bricks LA Best in Show who had this owl that was a mosaic. And what he did, here, I'll hide your, what he did is he painted in multiple shades of gray. And I'm not going to say, he had, I guess we have maybe 4 different colors. And he added multiple shades in between those colors, and he physically painted the Lego separately and
That's
then
really
use
cool.
those in the palette. Now, some people would argue that's not true to Lego form
But
as
it
far
is a
as
different style.
it's a different style, exactly. And so, it goes both ways. Like if you like I build pirate ships, and I have done my own personal custom sails. Those are not Lego products. I used canvas and I cut the sails out, and I did my own print of a Unikitty head on the front, of the angry kitty. So that technically is not a Lego product, but does that
Right.
mean that that would disqualify it from winning an award? So,
But it
so
does
I think,
prove that like Lego's there for anybody and you can do anything that you
hmm
want to with it.
right. And then Vicarious Bricks just says Studio is the best parts storage system. You
It
really
is.
enjoy building with it. Yes. Yes. You have your multiple bits of Lego. And that's why when I was talking about Duplo, if I decide to build a sculpture in Duplo for BrickCon, it's going to be a huge investment. And
It
you
really
have to
is.
get, the curvature right. And you would build it in Studio first, and then you would be able to set aside your parts and then build it, right?
Yes, I
So,
think you have to build that something that big in sections and then like put the big pieces together.
yeah, I think the way Robin described it is that you build it in layers from the bottom up.
Really, that's
So
crazy.
you could theoretically, maybe you build 10 layers at a time,
Yeah,
and then you layer those on top of each other, or
let's get
you don't.
heavy. I think.
Well, I mean, it certainly has opened my mind to, I've been exclusively, except for that one pirate ship, doing everything in regular system bricks. I
Right.
haven't done the Duplo, like a Duplo build, period.
I don't
Nothing
think
else
I've
but
never done
Duplo.
that either.
I do know another builder who does mostly Duplo, and she was on Lego Masters in the Netherlands.
Really.
Eveline, I'm trying to remember her last name, but Eveline and Natasha were a team over in the Netherlands, and Eveline does everything in Duplo, everything. So when she got on the show, she had to learn system brick
That's
because
crazy.
like she's not used to doing that. Yeah. So minifigure collector says that's funny that it was 20,000 parts, kind of reference to the Jules Verne book 20,000
Yeah,
Leagues Under the
that is
Sea.
really fun.
20,000 parts under the sea. That's what you can
Yes,
name that.
yes,
Actually,
I really
that
like
could be
that.
the name of your piece. So I wanted to ask you if there's some more builds you want to share with us.
I will go. Let's find them.
Because before, if not, then what we can do is, I know some of you are anxiously awaiting. Yes, we do have a giveaway today,
We do.
and a
This is
generous
exciting.
giveaway from Jacob. And but I want to make sure he shares his other builds before we go into that,
I
because
do
I've
have.
started typing the names into the wheel of names, and hopefully I'm getting everybody while he's doing that. That's what I'm doing in the background.
I do
And
have.
while you're doing that, I'll share with people. You probably have noticed in my video today that my backdrop is a little bit different. I know it looks the same just from this small view, but I'm going to give myself full view while Jacob's looking in the background. So one of the things that I've done is that this is my other side of the wall. So when I was building, I'm using my living room in my apartment as my building space. And then what I've done, let me see if I can turn this a little bit. So you see this TV that I have here. If you can imagine, this TV was on this here, and then what I did is the original cabinets where all of my bricks were, I moved that cabinet over here and made it vertical, and I put the TV on top. And now I have the router over here, some of my video equipment, and now the other wall is free, not for more Lego, but now I can add a sofa and actually entertain people, because people would come into my apartment and it's like, you have no place to sit. I go, well, that's because I use it as my Lego space. And I have a visitor coming in September, one of my best friends, Kathy. She's coming. And I said, I really need to redo my space. So then that way I can have real visitors. And because of COVID, I didn't really worry about it that much. So that's kind of why. things I've been doing. And then Lena says, I'm just here for the interview because it's a Brickanista stream. Thank you. That's very sweet, Lena. Thanks. And old school Apple TV remote. Yes. In fact, nice catch, Glenn. Let me show you this. This remote used to drive me crazy because this thing would get stuck, in between your couch cushions and other things like that. So this is my very first 3D print. I made one of these that I found on one of the sites, and this fits this perfectly, and I never lose it.
That's really awesome.
Yeah, and it's funny because this old one still works, even though this is the new model. So but I just like this so much, so I just kept it. And then a futon, from what it sounds like. Yeah, I'm actually thinking about a futon for the living room. But right now, because things are so hot, I don't know if you're having a heat wave over there as well in Mississippi.
Yes, we had it was like over 100 and it was rough.
Well, they're saying it's going to happen again because we're going through a heat wave right now. And for Seattle in the 90s, that's hot. But they're saying the lower 48, there's going to be an even bigger heat wave hitting the Midwest, I think, in a week or so. It's going to be rough.
Yeah, it got to 102 and that was rough.
So Glenn says there's an even newer model remote for the Apple TV. Okay. I got to collect them all. They just keep getting smaller and smaller, right? So, but yeah, good eye, Glenn. Yeah, it's going to be, and I just got, in fact, for you, my friends who are listening to the Brickanista Broadcast Network, I turned my air conditioner off. It's actually on fan only mode. So it's not cooling in here because I was asking Jacob, I go, can you hear my air conditioner in the background? He goes, yeah, it's kind of loud. So as soon as we're done, the air conditioner is going back on. All right. So Jacob, you had something else you also wanted to share. Right?
I did.
Oh, yes.
I did this for I lost my words, but I did this for Black History Month. And I wanted to go around the world and show different places. I have several different pictures here to show. Mm-hmm. So I did little landmarks, and then I did this little hand right here with this pen, kind of just drawing out the world and like just showing that we were all together. And so I did I'll just go through the pictures here. So I did. So this is just kind of a zoomed up of the Eiffel Tower right here. Mm-hmm. It took a long time, but this is whenever I was a little bit more skilled with studio here, and I was able to just make one side of the Eiffel Tower, and then kind of just once I made one side, I was understanding what it was going to take, and I was able to duplicate it, keeping on going more times until I finally was able to slide them all together, and I used them with hinges.
It's so beautiful.
And so it was really it started out really confusing, and I really just was like, maybe we shouldn't have had the Eiffel Tower. So I really wanted it as a focal point, and I was like, okay, we're going to keep on doing it. And so
it's art. It's
right.
This is your process, and this is why we're having this conversation. Is that I think too many people, when they start drawing, then they start doubting themselves.
Yes,
because then they start saying, "Well, why is this here? This isn't what it's like in reality." That's the whole point. It's art. It could be, the Tower of London and Paris Eiffel Tower can be together.
That's right.
It doesn't have to be exact to what's in reality, right?
That's
so
right.
Lena wants to know, is that also the London Tower?
That is. And I have the State Building right here.
Is that the Leaning Tower of Pisa, but standing straight up?
It was really, well, actually, it is leaning. And let me get back over here. It is leaning.
That's what we should do. In fact, I might do this. I might call it the Upright Tower of Pisa before it started leaning.
Before it started leaning, yes. Well, I got it to lean in the final builds, but it was confusing because in studio, as I was trying to make it lean, it was making the whole entire board lean.
Oh.
And it had leaning everything, and I was like, okay, this is not working.
Right.
So I had to go into a new build kind of, and then import the tower, and then make it lean. And then I had to go back to this build and import it into this build as it was leaning. It was really weird.
And Glenn also says the joy of Legos. You can mix universes at will.
You
And
can mix universes at will.
it looks like you have a pyramid at the bottom as
I
well.
do have a pyramid
Mm-hmm.
and a kind of a smaller Statue of Liberty from like the big build. That I think the
Oh,
house set. It's
yeah.
It's really hard. I made everything black. There is this builder who does everything in black for Black History.
Mm-hmm.
If I can find him, I don't know exactly what his name is. I kind of forgot about it. But he does everything in.
Somebody in the chat, I'm sure, will be able to.
But he does everything in black as this Black Lives Matter.
Yes, I think I'm trying to remember his name too because he was featured on the Lego site as
He
well.
was.
And then there's a couple more questions in the chat. So Joel SF Gamer asks, do you try to stick to parts that exist in the color palette you want?
Say that one more time.
Do you try to stick to parts that exist in the color palette you want?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do. Especially if I'm building like in digital. Oh, I figured out the name, by the way. It's Ikao Nimako.
Yes.
Yes, and that's what I got inspired. So I do like to stick to the parts that like I have like that I can use easily. So I do like to stick to the parts that like and it really helps. Like
Sorry, there's an echo there.
Yeah, I didn't hear that. That was really weird.
That was my bad.
It's okay.
Sorry. I got distracted because I got. I'll be right back. I'm gonna let you keep talking, but I've got to go get a new light.
Okay.
I'll be back.
So I like to just use these parts that help. Like I use these parts that are in the color scheme and the ones that are available whenever I'm building in real life. But because I'm in studio, I had all these different parts that I was able to use like at free will. And so sometimes I changed the color if it worked, but I tended to just use the colors that were in the palette. And here is another zoomed in picture right here. And there's the hand, and I used the one thing with studios, I was able to levitate all the different pieces in the air, and I wasn't able if I did that in real life, I would have to do it with like a string. If I was to present it at a show, I would have to I guess have a crane or some kind of feature to hold the hand up. But with studio, I was able to just to make it levitate at free will, so that was helpful.
That's good.
And I had one other smaller build. I was wanting to put the Wall of China, but I didn't. So I just put some kind of China house, kind of right here.
Okay.
Like I don't know what kind of theme building it is, but in the back right here is the Coliseum. But it really wasn't really featured in the main picture. But I just put it in there to kind of make it in the round, so that if you were to turn it backwards, there would be other buildings.
You'd see there's a full 360-degree view.
There is a full 360. Yes.
Nice.
So yes, I'll come back to here now.
Somebody was asking if the Louvre there is it's a famous French museum. Is that there as well? I don't think so. I think the pyramid was, even though there is a pyramid at the Louvre, I think the pyramid is
I did not add that,
the Egyptian pyramids, right?
Yes.
You were doing. Okay. Awesome. Well, this has been a delight. I absolutely love how you've taken your drawings, your hand drawings, incorporated them into 3D builds in studio, being able to take your concepts and be able to color them the way you like them. And I'm really excited to see your next journey in this. And I think your next journey is going to be at a convention.
I would hope so.
Predicting this. Now, somebody was asking the Sydney Opera House. Was that also in your last build too?
It was not. I really wanted to, but it was hard to fit in. I was having trouble fitting in so many buildings on one.
So many iconic buildings. Yes, definitely. Well, I know that we talked about having a raffle or prize drawing.
I have it right here. It's in person. It's not like we're going to go buy it.
He physically has it, and he will ship it to somebody. If you're in the U.S., he will ship it to you. And just Brick Jedi wanted to say great builds. And also, thank you so much for sharing, Jacob. And
yes, thank you.
I'm really glad you reached out to me because, I'm always looking for guests, and Sometimes these builder insights are really great because everybody has a different process. So being able
Yes.
to get to understand how people do this, and everybody's really impressed. Yeah, lots of wonderful buildings. Okay, so I have started putting the names in the chat into the wheel of names. So let me go share my screen. Oops, I got to get to the right screen here. Okay, so let me share this and see if everybody can see this. Hopefully, I've got just about everybody's name in here. Take a look. Let's see. I know this might be kind of small. Here, zooming in here. Debo, Brick Jedi, Vicarious Brickstress, Matthew Builds Bricks. Oops, I got Brick Jedi in there twice. Let me get that. Sorry, Brick Jedi. Minifig Collector, Glenn Copeland, Joel Gamer. Let me see if anybody else. I did not get Lena. Let me put Lena in there too. Lena Inverse.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Did I get everybody? I just make sure I got everybody in there before I spin the wheel. Let's make sure. Let's see. Does Jacob get to press the golden buzzer and stop the wheel? I don't know. I've never tried it that way. I don't know if you can. You know what? If we did it that way, you'd have to like build the wheel of names on
We
your
would have
side.
had to build the wheel.
Yeah.
But
Sorry.
it'll be okay. I can imaginary press it over here.
Okay, you can do this,
Yes,
and then
I'll do that.
I'll push it. Okay. Okay. So Vicarious Brickstress is starting to chant, "Stop that wheel!" All right. And is Joel the same Joel as the Joel who needed socks? I don't know. Joel SF Gamer, are you the same as Have Studs Will Travel? Maybe. He also says, awesome work, Jacob. All
Thank
right.
you.
So does anybody else, am I missing anybody on the wheel? I think, did I put Hooded One in there? Let me double check. Let me see if Hooded One, I don't think Hooded One is there. Let me put Hooded One in there. So that's, I had mentioned to Jacob that sometimes I have people from other countries. So he's our other country representative as well as Matthew Builds Bricks.
That's
So
so
if
fun.
one of those two get the spin, what we will do is we will send something probably monetary. We'll figure it out. Okay, did I get everybody? I think, is that everybody? Okay. All right, let me get to the right screen. All right, so you're going to have to, I'm going to have to do this in 2 steps. So not in the US, so not needed. Okay. It's Joel have socks will work. Okay, now I have to go to another screen. So if you want to do a countdown, why don't you do a countdown and then do the big,
Yes. Okay.
and then that way I can be in the other screen and just do the audio cue.
Okay.
Okay. All right, ready?
All right. We're gonna start in 3, 2, 1,
And
stop.
stop that wheel.
It looks like
It's Matthew
Matthew
Builds
Builds
Bricks in
Bricks.
the UK. So, okay, so Matthew, we will send you some sort of monetary equivalent, or maybe we will send you something like through Bricklink or something like that. So that means that you get to save that prize for another stream.
That is right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So anyway, so thank you again. Let me stop sharing this screen for a moment. But it's like, no way. Yes, way. And somebody was asking if I dyed my hair. So this hair looks a little redder, and it's because of the angle of the lights, because I moved to the other side of the room. So that's why it looks a little redder than normal. But I guess thank you. Is that good? I don't know. But anyway, yes, congratulations, Matthew. Wow is right. And everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Just if you want to follow Jacob, just to kind of give you his studded.brick on Instagram. And I know that we've got I know a lot of people are going to be following you as far as your journey, because I anticipate we'll see you at a future convention. If you're going to come to BrickCon in Seattle, that's in October.
That's
So
an
end of
October.
September, early October, if you want to come out this way. It's a lot cooler.
It is. I would
Usually. Not
usually.
right now. This is not the right time to come, but yeah. And so Vicarious Bricks just thoroughly enjoyed the stream. Mahalo, plenty and happy Hawaiian hugs. And you're welcome, Matthew. We'll chat more about how we get that prize to you in some form or fashion. But and once again, you're listening to the Brickanista Broadcast Network. Please like and subscribe to the stream if you enjoyed this. Thumbs up, and also comments help. So if you are willing to put in a comment, that also helps as well. And if you want to send me snail mail, the Brickanista Broadcast Network, P.O. Box 31956, Seattle, Washington 98103. So once again, thank you so much, Jacob. It's
Yes,
been a
thank
delight
you. I
to
really
have
enjoyed it.
you on the show. And I expect we'll have you back again sometime when you have
I would love to.
some more things to show. And
Talk about
as you
Pocahontas some
continue.
more.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think when you get the Pocahontas, we already declared it, adult fans of Pocahontas right
That's
here.
right.
So we'll have a Pocahontas episode. Why don't we just plan on that?
Okay.
And then that way I could do some cosplay too.
Yes.
That'll be fun.
That does sound like fun.
Okay. Well, everybody, thank you again for being on the show. Thank you, people in the chat, Vicarious Brickstress, Debo, Hooded One, Matthew Builds Bricks, Glenn, Jolis, F Gamer, who I think is have socks will build, Brick Jedi, Debo Bricks, Lena, Vicarious Brickstress, everybody who's been on the show, Hooded One. You guys have been awesome. Really appreciate you all. Thank you so much. And as they say on the Brickanista Broadcast Network, may the clutch be with you. Take care, everybody. Bye.